So how L-theanine is working in the brain is really fascinating, actually. So we have one of our neurotransmitters as glutamate. Glutamate's known as our excitatory neurotransmitter. This is the thing that gets body processes going. We need to have sharpening and awakening of processes in our body. But when glutamate's shooting through the roof, that is when we are in that fight or flight state. So L-theanine has a chemical structure that's almost identical to glutamate, and it tricks the brain into thinking it's glutamate and docks on, so we can get the positive aspects of glutamate without the chaos at the end of the day.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Healthy Habit Podcast. And look who's back in our part 2 of 2 discussion here with Carrie G. Pattison, practicing herbalist, licensed acupuncturist, and trained home birth midwife. Carrie G. Pattison is the national educator. I have to add that G in there, Carrie. Always add.
I do.
That G.
It's actually, there's a story behind it. It's
Is there really?
Very important to me, yes.
I feel like it's not complete unless I say the G. Carrie G. Pattison.
I really appreciate it.
The national educator at Natural Factors, one of our favorite companies, a Canadian company, ISURA-certified supplement company. And Natural Factors products are used by practicing clinicians all across North America. Today, we're going to dive deep on the topic of calming solutions for stress and sleep. Carrie, welcome back.
Thanks. Always thrilled to be here with you.
Last time we had you on was the should you spend your money on that supplement discussion, which was incredibly important. And that set the stage for today. Now we're going to talk about some products which you can trust, right, through the Natural Factors, because they satisfy all 5 of those criteria that we mentioned in episode 35. So tell us about stress, very important topic. We have the stress relax line here that we want to cover.
Yeah. And I think it's actually perfect segue from what we were talking about before, because, figuring out what supplement to purchase in a sea of supplements can be stressful.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things we did in the last episode was really try and give you some quick little things to look for to de-stress you so that, you're taking something that is effective and, functional. And also supporting the stores that are helping you with your health journey as well. So, but stress is a really fascinating thing because we hear the word stress and we automatically go to, oh, I'm, sitting in a car and I'm angry or whatever. And we forget that there are multiple different ways that stressors can impact our health. There is obviously mental, emotional stress, right? But there's also physical stress. Stress can be a positive thing too. It's from that physical stressing point of view. I just think about I love roller coasters. I am a huge fan, but anytime I'm on a roller coaster, I know my body is stressed out. It's like, this shouldn't be happening. Right? Yeah. Even though I'm experiencing glee, my cells are like, wait a second, this is not normal. And it's a stressor to my body. Environmental stress can happen as well. I even think, down in the Phoenix area when it's super hot outside and, immediately people are just sweating and panting, and that's a stressor, right? These are things that our bodies have to adapt to. So even that idea of environmental stress, forest fires, how it's impacting our lung tissue, all these xenoestrogens in our environment and, toxins that are coming into our body. So another plug for ISURA, testing for up to 900 potential contaminants. When you're taking a supplement, you don't have to worry about there being plastic in your supplement.
Yeah.
But I like the quote from Dr. Mark Hyman, and he's a functional MD. And he says, if you really knew what was happening when you were stressed, you would freak out because there's so many things that are happening in our body that we are not paying attention to. Lack of energy, concentration, sleeping issues, headaches. Stress can affect our cardiovascular system. I think most of us are aware of that idea that, we go on vacation and we get sick as soon as we stop. And that's because when we're stressed out, our body says we have to deal with this fight or flight situation, and we don't need to be focused on our immune system. So as soon as we can stop being in that state of fight or flight, then boom, we get sick because our immune system has stopped really being revved up. Stops our digestive system as well. So I know that there are a lot of people that experience like having to run to the bathroom when they're in a stressed out state, but also that fight or flight place. Actually, as our body is saying, this is what I need to do in the stress response, our digestive system slows down and stops. And so I want to step back and say, what is happening in that fight or flight is our body is essentially assuming that we are running away from a saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
Which we're not running away from a saber-toothed tiger.
Yeah.
But that is how our bodies react. So, when we're running away from a saber-toothed tiger, we don't need to be digesting our food. So that is something that happens, and it really affects people's ability to get nutrients. There's our joints and muscles can be affected. Eventually we can see lower bone density due to stress. That's crazy. We need to be focused on how we can not only address the short-term effects, like nobody wants to be cranky in the moment from stress, right?
Right.
But we also want to make sure that we are addressing some of these long-term things that can happen as well.
So we know that when we're stressed, we're burning through vitamin C. It's like a bonfire where you're putting in the little wood and it's just burning through it to keep it alive. Mm-hmm. And one of the areas in our body where we have the most vitamin C concentrated is the adrenal glands, right, Carrie? So tell us about the concept of adrenal fatigue and how important vitamin C is here during times of stress, not just for immune system.
Not just for the immune system. Well, I mean, we could talk about how vitamin C interacts with collagen as well. This is one of our most critical kind of essential things that we need to make sure we have healthy levels of in our body. So our adrenal glands are these little glands that sit on the top of our kidneys, and their job is to really help our body to adapt to stress. What they're doing is they're producing a variety of hormones that are critical to health. And these hormones interact with vitamin C and our mitochondria. Like there's a lot of things happening on a cellular level, but essentially constant stress is leading to adrenal exhaustion. We've heard the word cortisol before. We've probably heard the word adrenaline, though now we call it, epinephrine is the technical term for it. Yeah. But these are things that are just shooting out. So, in addition to vitamin C, the other thing that I think about, the other hormone that I think about regarding the adrenals is insulin. We don't talk enough about insulin and glucose because what's happening when we're running away from that saber-toothed tiger is that our body, cortisol is working there, shoots out. There's all these glucose that's running to our muscles so we can run faster. And then, there's not a tiger. And so we have all of this excess sugar running through our body, and so cortisol stores it as belly fat. So cortisol is not the problem. There's all of these other things that are happening, but we know that vitamin C is something that helps with sleep and fatigue, and B vitamins too. There's a lot of these different nutrients that we need where we need to be making sure we're supplementing appropriately for them, because I'm going to kind of list out some of the symptoms of adrenal exhaustion just because I want people to be aware of what this actually is and how impactful it is. So we're talking fatigue, right? So energy crashes throughout the day. If you're 1 to 3 in the afternoon, where's my cup of coffee? We know you have an adrenal issue. Anytime you just feel like stress is way too overwhelming, you're dealing with mood swings. Brain fog's another really great one. Cravings for salty or sugary foods. Trouble sleeping is a big one. I know that really is impactful as well. So our adrenals are kind of key to so many things, and we need to really be supporting them.
This is a perfect time to share this guy right here. It's one of the new members of the team here, the new part of the Stress Relax line. Can you see this?
Yes.
Perfect. We have the Magnesium Bisglycinate, the nighttime, and I'll double check if this is available even at the store yet. This is one of the newest products. Is that correct?
It is one of our newest products.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we took some of our favorite things. We've talked about the Tranquil Sleep in the past year. The Tranquil Sleep has the magnesium, or has melatonin, L-Theanine, 5-HTP. And we're like, let's look and see what we can do to create something that is a little bit more blended, right? Because there's a lot of people that are starting to finally become aware of the importance of magnesium. So,
Right.
you mentioned how much we're burning through vitamin C when we're stressed out. Oh my gosh. There is actually, it's literally referred to as the vicious cycle by researchers. And it is this idea that as we're stressed out, we burn through magnesium. And if we don't have enough magnesium, we're going to be stressed out. Like they're so hand in hand with each other. So there's a lot of people that are starting to realize that magnesium is a really lovely tool for helping to support stress levels. But also we know magnesium bisglycinate specifically has a little bit more focus, because what it is we've taken the magnesium and we've bonded it with glycine, which is an amino acid that actually is really helpful for calming and sleep. So we're getting extra benefits of the magnesium for stress relaxation. It helps relax our muscles as well. So if you're laying in bed at night and you've got tight muscles that are twitching and things like that, the magnesium is really helpful for that. We're also, with the glycine of the magnesium bisglycinate, we know there's a lot of research on that specifically being about supporting healthy sleep levels. So we've got that in there. We also have pharma-GABA. We've got L-Theanine. There's melatonin. Oh my gosh, I haven't tried it yet. Personally, but everybody that I have tried it, they say it tastes amazing. So it's nice. You have a little, mix it up before you go to sleep at night. But it's also something where it's all of the ingredients in there are naturally derived, the natural factor standard of things. We want to make sure people are getting things as close to nature as possible.
Right.
And it's something that works, and de-stress yourself. There's so many people that aren't sleeping just because they're stressed out. It has nothing to do with the fact that they can't sleep. Their body's exhausted,
right?
But they can't get the hamster wheel to turn off. They can't get their body to relax and go into that place. So here's something that's really valuable.
Yeah. And you mentioned it's not just vitamin C we're burning through during stress. It's also magnesium. Yeah. And a lot of people are deficient in magnesium. That's 75% of the population, I remember reading.
Yeah, it's insane. 80. And it keeps getting more and more and more. I think one of the reasons for that is that we look at foods that contain magnesium, and it's like our unrefined grains, and we aren't eating them anymore, right? We're eating refined things that no longer have the nutrient levels in it. So to think about that, this is something that's such an essential thing. I love it when people come in and they're like, oh, my legs are cramping at night and I can't sleep. And you give them magnesium and they're like, what? Sometimes it's as simple as something like that.
So tell us about L-Theanine, because that's part of that formula. It's in that nighttime magnesium. So
L-Theanine is an amino acid that is originally derived from green tea. So in my moments of me needing L-Theanine or suntheanine, I think about when I'm wanting to climb into the corner with a cup of tea and everybody leave me around, right? I want a crumpet and I want, a little tea time, but then I know I'm going to come back to the world, ready to go, focused, sharp, alert, and not stressed out. So how L-Theanine is working in the brain is really fascinating, actually. So we have one of our neurotransmitters as glutamate. Glutamate's known as our excitatory neurotransmitter. This is the thing that gets body processes going. We need to have sharpening and awakening of processes in our body. But when glutamate's shooting through the roof, that is when we are in that fight or flight state. So L-Theanine has a chemical structure that's almost identical to glutamate, and it tricks the brain into thinking it's glutamate and docks on, so we can get the positive aspects of glutamate without the chaos at the end of the day. So one of the things that we know suntheanine, L-Theanine does is it balances out brain waves. We have alpha brain waves and beta brain waves working within the structure of this glutamate, and a lot of people refer to beta waves as the bad ones. And I don't like that misnomer, but beta, I think it's bad. It's easy to go there. These are more of kind of the frenzied chaos ones. They're the waves that show up when we're in that fight or flight. Alpha waves show up in calm, relaxing scenarios. And what we know is that L-theanine balances out the alpha and beta and really brings them together. So we're talking about adrenal fatigue and that 1 to 3 in the afternoon thing, right? So, I always think it's interesting that people go and grab coffee, they grab caffeine, this drug to help them through that afternoon kind of slump. Right. But then they end up with like coffee jitters and the coffee jitters are because caffeine actually increases beta waves. So next time you need that cup of coffee, take some sun-theanine at the same time. 200 milligrams, 2 of those chewables with your caffeine. Oh my gosh, you are going to be in a soaring happy place.
And this is different from the stress relax nighttime magnesium powder I was just showing there on the screen. This would be the standalone sun-theanine.
This would be the standalone sun-theanine, but it's the same thing going on in both processes as far as balancing out those alpha and beta brain waves, putting our brain, just turning the brain, busy brain off. And that's what we need to happen at sleep and when we're sleeping, right? Is turning off that busy brain. Even during the day, we need to turn it off often.
Interesting. And people that are incredibly stressed all the time tend to have bad sleep. Would you agree with that?
Well, because we have, our melatonin and our cortisol are sister hormones working through our circadian rhythm. So if our cortisol is thrown off, our melatonin is going to be thrown off, and vice versa. We're going to have disrupted stress cycle during the day. We're going to have disrupted sleep cycles at night. So, it's not this is a multifaceted approach to sleep, and helping people to be able to sleep, which if you're not sleeping, you're cranky, right?
Right. So yeah. And so that nighttime magnesium can be used for sleep as well, not just stress, because it's part of the stress relax line.
It is. Yep. And it's a really wonderful thing to help put you to sleep at night, kind of, I would say, make it part of your new bedtime routine, to help just calm everything down. I just love the combination of products in here. I think it's one of those things that a lot of people were doing maybe sun-theanine separately. They were doing melatonin separately. They might have been doing magnesium bisglycinate as well separately. Here it is all together in one and done, with a side of pharmacaba too.
Yeah. You mentioned the theanine is from green tea. That's one major source of the theanine. But is it responsible for the anti-cancer benefits, or is that more the EGCG?
I think that's more the EGCG. Okay. Yep.
Theanine's going to be given more of the calming effect.
Exactly. Yeah.
The
brain aspects of it.
Got it. What are you saying are the most common sleep disturbances that people are dealing with that you're coming across? What are the top ones here?
Well, stress, right? I think, sleep disturbances, asking people, is it that you can't go to sleep, or are you waking up in the middle of the night, right? These are really big kind of differentiators, or not getting deep enough rest.
Okay.
Or, we talk about how hard it is to stay awake during the day. That is actually a sleep disturbance as well. And there's many different causes to each of these. Right. And, what we want to do is kind of like stop and ask the questions of like, which is it of these that is the problem? Because then we can step back and say, okay, maybe here's a better targeted approach.
Yeah. And so the most common type of insomnia isn't really a sleep problem. Is this true? I want to hear your thoughts on this topic.
Yeah. A short-term insomnia is really typically caused by a stressful life event, right? Something happens in your life that rocks you and you can't sleep. And it's probably, and what it can do is it can turn into that pattern, right? Then it's like, okay, your sleep was disturbed the first night, the second night, the third night. It's going to continue on, maybe turn into a chronic situation. But originally that was caused by some sort of stress that is eating up your vitamin C, right? Eating up your magnesium, causing your adrenals to burn out, and kind of setting off this cascade of not being able to shut down at night, whether or not it's from a busy brain or just because we are still in fight or flight mode. Like sometimes we need to break our bodies of being in that consistent fight or flight mode. So I think it's so important for me when we talk about stress, for anybody who's having like something happens that really jolts them and puts them into a really unfortunate situation, right?
Yes.
They need to immediately be doing stress support during the day to help prevent these long-term kind of changes
Absolutely.
that might be
It
happening.
takes effort, stress management. It takes some kind of effort, energy
Yeah.
putting in to relax, cause the relaxation,
Yeah.
instead of just letting it run haywire.
It's,
Right.
I mean, it's so fascinating you say that, because we keep going back to just the importance of deep breathing
Yeah.
and how simple and easy that is. But
Big.
how many of us actually do it? It's something that if I'm stuck in traffic, that's where I'm like, and now's the time to practice my deep breathing. And it's
Yeah.
amazing how much you feel that change in
Immediate.
your body.
After the
Yeah.
first deep breath, you
Yep.
feel it because the vagus nerve gets stimulated and calmed down. So that's awesome. I want to finish off on melatonin. It's part of that blend in there that we highlighted, the new product, the Magnesium Bisglycinate nighttime powder, which has the melatonin, the GABA, the L-Theanine, and the magnesium. Why is melatonin so important? It looks like per one scoop here, we're getting 2.5 milligrams of melatonin. 2 scoops gives you 5 milligrams. But then we also have just standalone melatonin as well. Give us
Exactly.
your thoughts on melatonin.
Yeah, so melatonin is one of our most critical neurohormones. And we talked in the last episode about some, concerns around melatonin regarding dosing and making sure you're getting supplements that have clarity on the potency levels. Because I think anytime we are utilizing a neurohormone or a hormone in general as a supplement, we need to be aware of it. I had, it's interesting. There's like, I have a friend that has the saying, it's like, just because it comes from the woods doesn't mean it's clean.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's something about supplements too. Like, just because this is something that you can buy at Healthy Habit at a natural health food store does not mean it's something that you can just like willy-nilly, utilize like in excessive amounts.
Right.
Melatonin is a very, very powerful tool. And I really respect and appreciate it for what it does. What it's doing is it's helping to regulate our circadian rhythm. So I don't know if you and Dr. Aaron have seen this recently in your practice, but I've seen Dutch tests coming through, and I'm seeing normal circadian rhythms, which is our melatonin and our cortisol balance in the body during the night and the day. But they're like shifted 4 hours one way or another. Like it's happening appropriately. It's just not happening at the right time.
Right.
And so
exactly.
That is what's so cool about melatonin, is its goal is to go in and say, okay, now's the time for boom, we need to be going to sleep. Like we can reset that sleep wake cycle. That being said, if you're not sleeping in the black, complete darkness, if you have a TV in your room that's going and, talking all night and your brain's focused on that, if you're staring at blue light on your phone, if you're not seeing the sun during the day and getting those, really waking up our cortisol, we need to have sunlight to tell our bodies it's daytime.
Absolutely.
Then we're going to be struggling for the rest of our lives. So, like we have to go back to the basics of getting rid of your phone, turning off your TV, getting those blackout curtains, and telling our body, like teaching our body what sleep is actually all about.
Yeah, you're right. We haven't had lights like this until the last, couple hundred years. Before that, what? Candles, right?
Yes.
I've actually encouraged people to start lighting candles at sunset all around the house.
Great idea.
And the problem is they're just hidden. They're covered in dust, their candle collection. So we got to pull those out, dust them off, take some theanine, right? Maybe a scoop of that new nighttime powder. And we actually have a 20% off going on here for Women's Health Month, right? 25% off Line Drive. And by the way, that's at the time of this recording. So I'm hoping that when this is released, we'll still have that going on. Do you want to add anything to that?
I think that, we talk about how women get stressed out so easily. Here's some tools for them. If mama's not sleeping, nobody's happy, right? But this is for
Right.
everybody. At the end of the day, we all need to be making sure that we are supporting our sleep. And, the nice thing about Natural Factors and Healthy Habit is that 20% sale is happening right now, but there's always going to be something on sale because we have such a great partnership and we want people to be able to afford to buy supplements. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, yep.
I always love our back-to-backs, Carrie. What's a good take-home here? A recap. In the first part, we covered what you should look for when you're about to buy a supplement. Today, we highlighted insomnia, stress, sleep. Give us a little take-home in 20, 30 seconds.
We talked about magnesium, the importance of vitamin C. So I think, and the importance of having your phone off and all these things. So I think, it goes back to the basics. We're constantly going back to the basics. And I think that's what this podcast is about, is a reminder of the basics. So there's a lot of different tools that you can grab and utilize. I'm loving the new magnesium bisglycinate nighttime formula, just because it kind of pulls in a lot of the things people might be taking separately in a really usable format to help us sleep and help us de-stress. If you're sleeping, you're setting yourself up for less stress the next day.
And am I right that it's not the bisglycinate necessarily that's giving that formula all the sleep benefits? It's the L-Theanine in there, the melatonin. It's
the combination, everything together.
You could take the bisglycinate during the day. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. We do have just a standalone magnesium bisglycinate that you could take at any point in time during the day. It's just the combination of these things together at night is really, really useful.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying, Carrie, and thank you for your time as always. Appreciate you and the whole team.
All right. See you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Bye,
thank you.
Everybody.